questions and that kind of thing. But always put stuff in your the chat box, because I can see it in this new presenter mode. So if you have something that you want to ask right then, just put it in the chat box. Welcome everybody to the end of the year SLPA Supervising SLP lunch chat. We are excited that you're here and don't want to take any more of your time than what we have to. And if everybody would turn off your mics. I hear somebody, I'm not sure who. Yep. Okay, and then we will go ahead and get started. Okay, congratulations, we're almost finished the school year, yay! This has been quite the year. First of all, some of you are new SLPAs, some of you are new supervising SLPs. And on top of that, we started a new teams approach and a new process for paperwork. And then, of course, was the pandemic. And man, I'm sure you're all ready for this year to end. But just like Terry and I were saying, we have shown that we are survivors, and we can do it. So I'm just glad we're almost through, and I just want to celebrate with you a minute on that. And I also want to just think for a moment about Kevin Peters. Some of you may or may not know, but he was an SLPA, and we lost him this year. And he was just a force to be dealt with. He was just a presence in the room. And if you didn't get to know him, you missed out on a great opportunity. But every time I open my SLPA notebook and start looking at the teams, I see his name, and it just really makes me sad. So I just wanted to take some time just to remember Kevin. Okay, I told you at the beginning of the year that we were starting out with paperwork with a purpose, and it's all coming to a close here. And hopefully what we've been doing throughout the year will make this end of the year process a lot easier for you. That's my hope. So what we have due by June 1st, hopefully you can get it sooner than that, because sometimes things have to be set back and corrected or whatever. But there are three things that you will be turning in. You will be turning in your verification report, your DUSA form or your direct observations of students assigned to the SLPA form, and all your certificates of attendance. We're going to go over each of those, but just remember the deadline is June 1st. And hopefully the things that we've been working on throughout this year will make it a much easier process for you now. I'm hoping that was the whole purpose of this whole teams. So don't forget that with these three things you're going to turn in. You turn it in, SLPAs, you would turn it into your assignments. And there'll be an assignment for the verification report, the DUSA form, and I'm going to do an assignment for your certificates. You add it to your class notebook, and because several of you have not taken advantage of the class notebook, the original intent of that notebook was so that you would not have to send an email to Leanne and myself. But because so many of you have not quite done that yet, and I'm not sure if you're going to have troubles or not, we're going to do one more year of emailing the information to directly, and your county may have a different process. You may, in your county, send the information to your leads, and your lead sends it to Leanne and myself, or they may say send it directly to us. That's something you'd have to find out within your county. But there's three places, and hopefully next year this won't be something you'll have to do. But just because I've not seen enough of you do the class notebooks yet, and that's your file cabinet, we're not quite ready to get rid of this last thing. So hopefully next year we will be done. So the verification report is a one-page document, but it's got lots of information on it. And so I want to kind of go over what goes on to the verification report and the attachments. You know, the first part, is pretty self-explanatory. But when you get down here to the numbers on your caseload, that may have changed since your supervision plan. And then this is the biggie, the direct and the indirect percentages. Hopefully, if you've been doing your weekly direct, indirect supervision forms, this is going to be really simple. I'm not sure how you did it before. I'm sure you had to just guess, but now you have documentation to support the percentage of direct and indirect supervision. And it just says here that your weekly direct and indirect supervision logs are available somewhere. You don't have to turn those in. Then we're assuming that 100% of your initial telepractice sessions were observed, but you would complete that area as well. Here's your weekly direct, indirect supervision log. This was the form that we had suggested, but some of you have developed other ways of keeping track of the amount of supervision, and especially those of you who use the wonderful program that RIA has developed. There's another way that they're looking at documenting. But the important thing is that you've documented it somewhere, that you've supervised the SLPA, the required minimums, which is the 10% direct and 10% indirect by this time of the year. And of course, more may be required with more complex communication disorders and situations like that. So hopefully this has worked, but there is a question in the survey for you to tell us whether you liked it, other suggestions for revisions. So the percentages should be pretty simple, and I'm hoping that with the paperwork with a purpose, we've helped you be able to get that answer rather quickly. Your professional development is a big one, and I cannot emphasize enough that it has to be documented. So you have to have at least 12 hours of professional development per year for renewal of your authorization. And you would list those in your on the verification report, but you also have to have documentation that proves that. So your certificates of attendance would be an example. And if you've been following along, and some of you have, you've been putting your certificates in the class notebook as you've gone along, then you're not going to have a whole lot that you're going to have to do. But if you haven't, it's going to be a little bit more work to get all your certificates attached and ready and together to support the list that you've made here. In the fillable form, and there is a fillable form now for the verification report, it will add up your hours for you, and hopefully that'll be easier and it'll make it neater. But you can use whichever form you want, whether it's just the plain old PDF or the fillable form, but it has to be the new one from the guidance document. Just a reminder for your professional development, you have 12 hours that you need, which need to be documented. And any attendance at a state or national conference will count. Any professional development activities that have been designated by WVDE, which many of the ones we've provided with the SLPA and supervising SLP meetings will count. And or any development or professional development activities that are in your county that have been provided and approved by Leanne. What will not count will be your practicums, if you're in graduate school, or classes you've taken for a pay upgrade or a certificate renewal. Now, because there was some confusion this year in the guidance document, if you have a graduate course that you've taken, it will be able to count this year, but this is only this year. and it's 45 hours for a 3-hour course. It's just because of the confusion. The reason why they want to keep them separate is because, you might take one course and that would be wonderful, but, we've got so many areas that we're learning about and needing to keep current about. So to have your professional development be something different than what you've used for a pay increase or an upgrade makes a lot of sense. So just want to make sure that you remember that for next year. So with your verification report, at the very bottom, there's a place where you check that you've attached your direct observations of students assigned to the SLPA or DUSA form. And you have to attach that as part of your verification. That's a new thing, but it helps us comply more closely to ASH's requirements for supervision and periodic supervision. And so for the DUSA form, that has been something that has been a problem with a lot of people this year. Just remember that you put the dates that the SLPA was observed or the student was observed and the date that the progress report was reviewed. The completed form will have all 9 weeks. And we're going to talk about different ways that you can turn it in, and this is where we'll also need your feedback as well. But just remember, it's the dates, not, some of you have put the time that was observed, which is great. I mean, but that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for the date that you were observed within each 9-week period and the date that the progress report was reviewed. Since the supervising SLP is still ethically responsible for the caseload, they need to kind of keep up with what's going on. So it makes sense that they put eyes on each of the students on the caseload and that they also look at the progress reports before they're sent out. So you would put the dates, not check marks, not initials, not times observed, the dates. You would turn it in. There's an assignment option under the turn in. You would save it in the class notebook and you would email it along with your verification report to Leanne and myself. And this is a biggie because this is the important document. This is what is required for your reauthorization. We want to make sure that you don't forget to have the special ed director sign it. This is not an electronic signature for any of these. These are real signatures, and you're basically saying, if you sign your name, that this is really what happened this year. This is the amount of time that I was observed or I observed. These are the professional development hours, and your special ed director needs to sign it. And we've had several of those come back without the special ed director, and we realize that's hard this time of year, but that's critical. And if it's not signed, then we have to send it back, which will make it even harder if school is out. So make sure that you get your signatures and of course the date when they are signed. That's important. And then you would check that you have attached the DUSA form. So class notebook is something that people are still having some difficulty with. And we're going to go over this. And Danya, are you on here? I haven't been able to look at the whole list.
Yeah, I'm on here.
Okay, good. So Danya's going to help me demonstrate how you do this. And first, I'll just go over the directions. You're going to go to the class notebook. Then you look under your class notebook is your filing system. So just remember that. This is your file cabinet. And what's nice about it is that it goes with you wherever you are. So if you would transfer to a different county or to a different school, this file notebook stays, and it stays with you, wherever. And it's something that we have access to as well. So you would go to your class notebook. Then you look for the completed 2021 file. And then you look under that file and you should find a file for little sub-files for verification, for the DUSA form, for the trainings of certificates or attendance, and your supervision plan. Now, for a lot of you, I went ahead and put your supervision plan in your class notebook to get us all started, so you won't have to do that. Here's the thing that people forget. They forget to click in the body of the document. You know, if you've got it open, you say, I'm getting ready to do my DUSA form. Here it says DUSA. And you're like, well, what do I do? Well, you have to click in the body of the document before the options appear. And once the options appear, then you have insert as an option, and you're going to insert your printout, your file printout. Now, we've been inserting pictures, and I think, you know, for your certificates of attendance and those kinds of things, it's fine. But for this important document, especially if we're going to eliminate the option of emailing in the future, you want to file, then do your file printout, because it will show an actual printout or actual picture of your file. If you do just the file and the attachment, it has a link to your file, which is fine, but it involves downloading for us to be able to see it. So if you could do the printout, that would be great. So one more time, you go to your class notebook. It looks a little different now. We'll show you what it looks like now as far as selecting the notebook. Then you go to the files under your name, and you would look for the 2020-2021 folder. And then under that, you would find the area or the file that you want to place. If it's the DUSA form or the verification report or whichever, you would choose whichever one you want. And then remember to click in the body of that document. And then you're going to do the attach the file, but you want it to be the printout. And it says, and I see that Alicia is saying one thing she's found is that, let me look, is that while saving a new file, it replaced the other one. Saving a new file. We'll have to talk about that because I'm not quite sure. When we get into the demonstration, saving a new file. Actually, I mean, I know with the certificates, I've seen people to be able to add certificates. It might move things down. That's an interesting comment. So thank you, Alicia, and we'll work on that. Okay, so.
I can help address that too, Libby.
Oh, good. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Danya, and this is the new little thing that you click on that looks different to get to your class notebook. So I am going to quit sharing my screen, and I'm going to let you share your screen. So
okay, so I'm going to see if it'll let me share here. Yep, okay, great. So can everyone see my screen? It should be on my email. I decided to start here with one of the certificates just to kind of show what I do.
Can everybody see? Just want to make sure you can see. Some feedback from folks.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. I can't see any of the chat, so can someone type in?
They can see it. Okay, great. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so this is my email, and this is one of the last certificate that Libby just sent. So what I do is I go in and I click on it, and then I go to download, and then I go to open. And this opens up into a Word document for me. And then I already saved this, but I'll just resave. So I go to File, I'll go to Save As, and then I go to I just save it under one of my documents files for right now. So since I already saved this, I'm going to hit Certificate 2 for ASHA certification and hit Save. Okay, now I'm going to go down to my Teams icon. So I open up Teams. I'm going to try to open up Teams. And here we go. I think.
Are you guys seeing
okay.
Teams?
Nope, I'm not even seeing Teams yet. So
okay.
Maybe it's because I'm in Teams. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay. This should be my Teams page that you guys can see. I'm under the announcements right now, or the posts.
Can you guys see that? Just want to make sure.
Let's go. Yeah. Okay. Okay, tell me when you can see my Teams page.
It's still on the certificate.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing.
Okay, let me hit. This actually does happen when I'm working with my virtual kids. So I have to stop sharing and I will reshare.
Yes.
Okay. Can everyone see that now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is my main Teams page. I go to our SLPA page. And now I'm going to go over to Class Notebook at the top. If everyone can see that. And I click on Class Notebook. Okay. Once this is open, I just think these look like books, so I always go to the books.
That's
and I click on it. And then I go to my name. I click on my name. I'm going to go to this. This is the first year here that we're on, 2020 to 2021. And then I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to click on, it brings up 4 different options: my supervision plan, my verification report file, my certificate of attendance, or my direct observations. So this is the same for any of these things that we need to file. If I need to file my my verification report, I would go there. But I need to file now my certificate of attendance. So as you can see, it's a little bit, sorry, the screen is like a little bit off to the side, but these are all the certificates that I've done. And I had the same problem with one certificate replacing the other. So what I finally have managed to do is I go in and I just add like a space. I just hit enter. So I have an extra space for my cursor. But I'll show you what I do if that's a little confusing. So once I hit into Class Notebook, I'm just going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to click Insert File Printout, and that's where it makes it so you can see the whole picture. I'm going to choose the file, go to my files, and I'm going to find it there. Click Certificate 2. I'm going to click Open, and then I'm going to click Insert. And it will insert this file here. And then to prevent the next one that I would need to insert from causing me problems, I click on this little box here where it says certificate, and I just hit, oh no, it's not going to do it. I did this earlier, so I was hoping it wouldn't do it for me here. I hit enter, and then I hit enter again, so that the next time I need to insert a new file, I can just come down here and click, and it will click inside this box without clicking on top of the old certificate and going on top of it. So it doesn't actually replace. What happens is it literally overlays it, and you have to go through and like move everything. It was a big pain. So if you just click on this and then hit like, don't let it do that, and then hit how it's not doing it. Hit somewhere by, here we go. Enter. Then you should have this extra space up there, and then you can click File, Insert, or you hit Insert and then File, and then Insert File Attachment. You choose again.
Not file attachment, file printout.
Yeah. Did I click File Attachment?
Yeah.
Okay. That was not. Yeah.
That's easy to
You
forget.
hit File.
Yeah.
You always hit File Printout, and then you go find it, and you click on it, and then you hit Insert again. So, and that's how. I don't know who had the question about
It was Alicia.
it overlaying. Alicia, did that help at all?
Alicia said, go ahead, Alicia. I'm sorry.
Hi. Yeah, I'm probably like stacked up to my eyebrows with the same certificate now. I'm going to have to go in and, really check on that. But thanks so much.
You're welcome. Sorry, I know that's crazy. I think you can like literally like click and drag them, if that helps, if I remember right. So hopefully you won't have to reinsert all of them, but I think you can go click and drag them. So so that's what I do, and that's how I get it in there. I hope
so.
That
would you
helps
go
somebody.
through that one more time, just so for everybody to see?
Yep. Okay.
Charlotte says you can click and drag. Thanks, Charlotte.
Okay, great. Yay. Yeah, let me see if I can delete that. Okay, so I'll go back here to my, close out of there. Okay, so I just open it up in my email. This email from Libby. Oops, I just actually deleted you. Okay, here we go. Open it back up, and I'm gonna just download it.
Of course, it's not showing that, but
oh,
yeah, but that's okay.
Okay, so just the part where do you guys just need the part where I put it into the notebook?
Does anybody need to see how to download it and from the email? Doesn't look like anybody does.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, so once it's downloaded and it's saved, we just go to our teams, go to SLPA, click on class notebook at the top. Wait for the books to come up. Click on the books. Click on your name. Click on the year. Is it showing this for you guys?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then click on certificates of attendance. Okay. And then I'm going to click over into the box. And since I had hit enter before, it helps and it doesn't give me any trouble. Click on insert file, insert file printout. Choose a file. I'm gonna hit this one that I just saved. Open it up. I'm gonna insert it. And then I'm gonna go back up here because I want to make sure I have my I don't know why it does this, but whenever it does, I just keep clicking next to it until it goes away. And then I just hit enter a couple times so that the next time I can put a new one in. And then you can see that it has all of them there. Oh, see, this is one where it overlaid, so I'll have to move that one. Because I was having that same exact problem where it overlays like that. Do you see that, Libby?
Yes, I do.
So I'm not quite sure. Yeah, but so that's how you do it.
Great.
And if I had figured that enter trick out before, I wouldn't have any overlaying.
Well, that's an important trick to share. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
While you're there, since we won't have to switch screens and go back and forth, why don't you go ahead and show how you do an assignment as well?
Okay. So assignments, I click over onto the left-hand side, click assignments. I usually there's, okay, so you can hit direct observation of students. I'm going to hit under my work, add work. And then I'm going to look, why does it want me to do this? Upload from this device. I'm going to go to, I don't even know if I have it.
Oh, that's okay. Just to kind
Here, I
of.
have something. Okay.
Okay.
There we go. So it's downloading it. Just click on it. And now I hit done. And now I've added the direct observation that I had. And then I click turn in.
I think most people did okay with the assignments, but the class notebook was a problem. Does anybody have questions about the assignments? For this end of the year, you're going to have the verification report and the DUSA form and the certificates. So Maggie wants to know, but why is it necessary to turn it in and also put it in the class notebook? Okay, Maggie, that's a really good question. Because the turn it in is more or less for us to keep track of whether you've done it, the times, the dates, and that kind of thing. The class notebook is a long-term storage that we can share with others if we have to, with the certification department and those kinds of things. I know it seems a bit redundant, but in some instances it's nice to have redundancy. Because this is just too important for us to lose anything or lose track of something. So the assignment is more or less for us to look at whether things have been turned in and on time, and the notebook is more or less your filing cabinet. Does that answer your question, Maggie? Good question. I understand. We don't want to do more, and we don't want you to have to do emails too. But like I said, so many people just haven't done the class notebook yet. And there's going to be a question, if you would prefer to have individual files on Teams, then I would have time to do that this summer. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, Danya, thank you so much. That was very helpful. Does anybody have any questions before I move on with the PowerPoint? Is there a way to turn in a folder as a whole? For instance, submit the entire certificate folder at once. I don't know. Does anybody know the answer to that one? Those of you who've been doing certificates.
It looks like it would, this is Leanne, it looks like that the notebook would allow you to upload a folder instead of having to do each individual file. But I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't checked into it, but it seems like there would be a way to do that.
We'll have to investigate, Alicia. Good point. I know it says attach a file, but I don't know if you can attach a folder.
I'll check with Mark right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen again. Let's see if it ended up where we were at the very end. Of course not. We're going to have to slide through these real fast. Let me make you sick. Sorry. All right, so we've done the directions, we've done class notebook. Am I making you sick? Are you seeing my screen, by the way? Yes, somebody?
Yes, they're seeing your screen.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, and so then Danya just finished the how to turn in the assignment. So with the verification report that you'll be sending to Leanne and myself, or your lead who will be sending it to Leanne and myself, it would be great if you have verification report as the heading, because we get lots of emails, and especially this time of year where we're doing lots of trainings and certificates and that kind of thing. So the question is it all right to still upload pictures of certificates if we just printed them and didn't download the certificates? Yes, for the certificates that would be fine. For the verification report and the DUSA form, I think we need to try to make them attachments if you can, particularly the verification report, because it goes lots of places, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, so then after all this, and this is why you've been doing all these things, is your renewal of your SLPA authorization. And that is done, it's valid for 1 year. It expires on June 30th. And you have to have the 12 hours of verified professional development and your percent of direct indirect supervision documented. Those are documented for us to do our end for the certification department. Because what happens, you know, some of you do your verifications a little early, which is fine, but you know, nothing will happen until Leanne has seen your verification report and she sees that the special ed director has signed it, that the forms are attached, that you verified, you have certificates of attendance for all your trainings. And it's only then when Leanne sees all those things that it's approved. And then certification takes it the next step. So even though you might turn in your Form 38, Form 38, nothing will happen until this other part, your verification report and the documentation, is received and approved. So that's how they all work together. Honestly, we're not trying to make it more difficult or add more paperwork. This is what is required, and we're hopefully making it so that you aren't having to scramble around here at the end of the year. And there's your Form 38. Does anybody have questions about your authorization? Because Leanne is on here listening, and if you have questions, this is the time to ask.
Do we need to do anything in addition to Form 38, or just turn in those verification, the direct observation, just turn in those things and then the county takes care of these forms? Or do we have to do anything with the forms ourselves?
Leanne, are you on there?
I am. I think, what county are you in, Danya?
Jefferson.
Then check with Ashley Carney. If she's not on the call, check with her and see what she says. I mean, I think you could maybe turn the forms into her possibly, and she'll get them to Cindy Jones to sign. And then they'll turn it in for you from there.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I just heard from Mark, and Mark said the smarter thing to do would be to just put a link in the class notebook to your personal folder. So you would just share your folder from your computer to a link in the class notebook. And what we'll do, he said it would be faster for everybody concerned. So what we'll do for your certificates only is Libby and I will work on instructions for you how to do that, and make sure that there's a file in there for you to attach your link to, and we can just do it that way then. Hopefully that'll save you guys a lot of time.
Great. Mark Moore is kind of the Microsoft guru at the State Department. He has provided a lot of training, so that's great. All right. So then I'm going to do a survey with you guys, and I know how these surveys are crazy, but we really need your feedback. We may get a chance to revise the guidance document. I'm not sure, but we at least want your feedback. We know we need to clarify the professional development piece. I want to ask you about the DUSA form and the weekly direct indirect supervision log. And we know we have to change our addresses on the guidance documents because we've moved again to another floor. So, but anyway, we do want your feedback. If you find anything in the guidance document that's not clear, or you have questions about, or you think would be better worded differently or whatever, we're open to your feedback. And if we're able to do that this summer, then we're going to do some revisions if we're able to. Last December, it seemed like forever ago, we did do a team survey to just get your feedback. And this is kind of where people, they liked the teams and they liked the process fairly well. The least favorite was the class notebook. And we recognize that. So this was kind of on a scale from 1 to 5. These are the top rated ones, and then these were the least favorite ones. There were some team suggestions, and I want to kind of go over those and then get your feedback now, because things may have changed since December. It seems like it's been 20 years since December. But you did have some questions about the process in the class notebook, and you felt the class notebook was confusing. There is going to be a question in the survey if you would prefer for us to do it differently with files. Then we can work on maybe doing that this summer. If like I said, if we have time, we will do our best. And you liked the fact that I'm going to do full screen because I'm not able to see what I'm seeing. Okay, so then you have the monthly chats. You liked those. Someone had suggested early morning or the fourth Friday because you were in your 3 to 1. And so I have a question on the survey as to the time of the week that you would prefer and the time of the day. And the thing about the 3 to 1 is some counties do them a little differently, so it might not always be the fourth week. But we want your feedback as far as the monthly meetings. You seem to like the monthly meetings best, not more, not less. Someone had wanted access to the information using one tab. I don't know how we could do that because there's so many different areas of things to put at the top. But if you have a suggestion on how to do that, this was an anonymous survey, so I don't know who wrote that. You'd like the reminders and the due dates, and we will definitely do that. We hope to take this information and be able to have at the beginning of the year the dates of the meetings and the dates of the different things that are due. Leanne, do you have something you want to say?
I just wanted to ask a quick clarifying question for this one tab. So you're saying they just want one tab at the top instead of having files, videos, that kind of thing. I mean, I'm trying to think how we could do that. And the big thing, I guess, would be to just have folders instead, one under that one tab for files and then videos and that kind of thing. But I'm just trying to figure out why that would be helpful, because if it will be, then I definitely want to check with Mark and see what we can do about it.
So in your survey, if you are the one who wrote that, or there's others of you who would like that, then there's a place at the very bottom to put suggestions. So be as specific as you can, because we really do look at your feedback and appreciate it a lot. As far as the teams and the meetings, you liked discussing things like the certification, which we have done, and Marshall will be presenting in September. The opportunities for required training for the certification, that would be the ethics that we've done, and we might look at some of the other things that you have to do to get the ASHA certification. You wanted more informal chats. You liked specific therapy topics. Someone suggested Facebook. And Leanna and I were discussing that yesterday. If it's Facebook for posting questions about SLPA or things like that, then I hope that the Teams posts would serve that purpose. But if it's more informal than that, then the only request that we would have is that it be a closed Facebook. And if it's not something that we do, then it would be something you might have to set up on your own. But if in either event, if it's a closed Facebook. And then establishing rapport by doing an about me, and we will start like a spotlight next year. So that every week somebody will be spotlighted, and weekly motivational posts. And I wasn't sure who posted that, but I think that's a grand idea, and maybe we could all work on sharing motivational posts or assign different months or weeks so that it's not just one person. But I think anything we can do to communicate with each other and inspire each other, that would be a great thing. So as it relates to your certificates for today, the deadline for your submitting this information of the survey and to submit information for the certificate is May 11th at midnight. You won't get your certificates till the 12th, and everybody should complete it. The SLPs and the supervisors and the SLPAs to verify your attendance and get a certificate. But please take some time and give us some feedback. We'd really appreciate, feedback and hearing from you. This is your team. We want to make it as useful as possible. And you just remember, you are not alone. I've not heard from anybody regarding the graduate program presentation or ASHA except for the survey. But, as you're going through this process as an SLPA and you're making decisions, we are here to support you. We want to be here for you. And for the supervisors, as you go through this process, and I know some of you have had some difficult situations, we want to be here. We want to be available, and hopefully we have been. I was telling the professional development committee that the favorite part of my job has been this group and setting it up and hearing from you guys. So we want to continue that next year. And thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being patient with this process. Just thank you. Thank you for everything. I'm going to go ahead and post the survey link. But in the meantime, if anybody wants to unmute and ask any additional questions or make comments, we'd appreciate it.
I'd just like to go ahead and say something real quickly, and then I'll transfer over to the next meeting. I just wanted to thank you guys too, because I know, you've done a lot of extra things this year, but I think with the groups, you'll have to, agree with the group that both groups that Libby's done this year. You've been more supported, what's going on, and I just really am thankful that she has had the time and the desire to work with this group, because as much as I want to support every time, it's just hard to do all groups, and she's done a fantastic job. So thank you guys for what you do, SLPAs and supervisors. I know that what you do is a hard job, and like Libby said, we've made it through a year that I think at the beginning of the year a lot of us thought we wouldn't make it through. So thank you for your tenacity and your devotion to your students, and just have a wonderful summer. And hopefully through all of this documentation that you're doing now, I won't have to call any of you this summer and say I don't have your paperwork. So thank you so much for doing it up front, and just have a safe and wonderful summer. Thanks so much.
Anybody want to unmute? Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind. Any questions? Any comments? Hopefully you've got the survey link now, and please take some time to do that survey. Both supervising SLPs and SLPAs, because we want to make this group useful to you, and so the only way we can do that is to hear from you.
Hi there, this is Audrey Berg, Donya's supervisor. She had to step out. I just wanted to clarify something really quick in terms of the verification form and the percentages for breakdown for direct versus indirect, just for my purposes.
Sure.
What I was in the middle of phone calls and a lot of things in the middle of this, but I just wanted to clarify, was it 10% for the direct or 20% for the direct on the verification form?
Initially, it's 20%. After the first 90 days, it is up to the supervisor.
Okay.
And if you feel, based on your observations and the caseload, that 10% is appropriate, then it could go down to 10%, but that's the minimum.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's always 10% indirect.
Okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to
Sure.
wrap my brain around that on a Friday. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is there any way you can post your slides as a reference? Okay, if I share the PowerPoint, that's not what you're hoping, because I can share the PowerPoint for sure, and I'll share the recording as well. But is there? I'm not quite sure, Alicia. Unmute and tell me what you're looking for.
That was exactly what I was looking for, just like the slides, so in case we needed to go back and review anything of the processes or anything, so we're not having to go back and review the live to try to find.
Sure. Okay. I'll be happy to post it. No problem.
And I just posted another question. The 90 days, does that renew upon each year, or is that only after initial hiring?
For now, it's every year. That is something that was a question that was posed early on in the fall, and I think that's something you need to put in your survey to help us remember for the guidance document, because we're talking about that. It doesn't make sense in some ways that you would have to redo it again. However, you might have a new caseload, you might have a different situation, and so you can't just automatically go to the 10%. So those of you supervisors and SLPAs, suggestions on how to make that fair and reasonable, and yet make sure that it accounts for changes, because that's something we recognize, and thanks Alicia for bringing it up, and make sure you put it in the survey. But for right now, according to the guidance document, it's every year. Now, we're also thinking, well, what about if you got certified? Would that be different? And I don't know. But that's a very valid point, and I hear you. I'm just not sure yet. So sharing the PowerPoint would be great. Okay, I will post those slides. Absolutely. Happy to do that. Any other questions? You guys have been wonderful. I hope you get a wonderful summer break and, start the next year ready to start again. But hopefully we'll get your feedback, and we'll have a calendar set up for you with the meeting dates and also the deadlines. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, and I'll hang on as long as anybody wants to talk. Otherwise, I don't want to